Hello there and welcome to Cannibal Diva Chronicles, where uplifting the downtrodden is our focus. Today I'd like to talk about a beautiful couple in Australia who have been a social media couple for many years and who recently have been going through some public discussion about how they have separated and gone their separate ways. The Jamie Perkins and Nikki Thot marriage, which has now broken down and has become an interesting topic for many because of how they united in 2012 and how he had made a public proposal to her that was so romantic, and how they now got married in the most beautiful, idealistic marriage in Australia in 2013. I watched how their relationship had evolved from dating to the proposal to eventually getting married because they were very popular in the social media scene. I love them because I really look at relationships, especially when I was going through my own relationship. I used to like to look at those who were very romantic in their exposure and their relationship being in the public eye, and how they would relate to each other, because I like to learn from people. And I'm a very good watcher of YouTube channels where I see the most beautiful couples. It just brings so much joy into my heart to see that some relationships are thriving and doing very well. And it gives me hope that indeed love is indeed possible. That is why I like to watch couples. There's so many couples like that I used to follow. But for many years now, I followed them. At some point dropped out of the scene, and I just forgot to follow them because I never used to see them post regularly like they used to before. Jamie Perkins is a white young man from Australia who married Nikki Thot, a model. I believe she's from Kenya, most very beautiful young lady who was involved in the modeling scene for many years, and she was very well known. And I just like the fact that they made this striking couple with her dark skin and her very beautiful physique. Obviously, being a model, you would expect that she'd look like that. But I just like the way her dark skin complemented his white skin. And when they would get married, just the way she looked like a complete princess in the wedding gown, and the way he looked they just looked like Ken and Barbie, in my own opinion. And I just loved watching the way they expressed their love for each other, especially during their marital vows. That was in 2013, only for us to now hear the most unfortunate news that they are going through a very toxic separation. And not just the separation itself was toxic, apparently. The marriage itself, according to Jamie Perkins' revelations recently, has been a very toxic one. And he did back that up with showing us videos of how she had lashed out at him many times, actually physically hitting him in one of the videos while she had her daughter in her arms, which I found to be quite shocking. On top of the fact that she had also spoken out against him publicly, probably not being aware that she was being recorded at the time, calling him names and telling him he didn't have any friends, he was a nobody, and also the fact that nobody liked him. She had thrown a lot of curses and insults his way, while he just kept telling her in his own way that, that wasn't the case, and trying to defend himself from verbal assaults. This just struck a very hard nerve in me because, without being said, I'm sure based on the videos you guys have watched about me, you would know why that would strike a very, very negative chord in me, watching somebody else being called out of their name and being told that they are nothing, that nobody loves them, that even though they are depressed, which she had also pointed out, the reason they were depressed is because they had no friends and nobody loved them, and stuff like that. This verbal, outrageous onslaught of this poor guy. When I heard it, I went back to in my mind, how they had been so lovey-dovey online, and just watching him on the video. I'm going to post a short video of him speaking about his relationship and saying why he has eventually decided to come out and speak about it publicly, because she has been the one being very outspoken in the past few months about what went wrong in the relationship. And now he has decided to come out and let us know and let the public know that he had no choice but to file for divorce because she had made many promises in the past after physically assaulting him that she would change, and she was willing to go for counseling and therapy. But then shortly afterwards, she would then, end up doing the same thing again, which is verbally or physically assaulting him. He has accused her of throwing heavy things at his head, hitting him with heavy objects in the past, even in the presence of his mother. According to the news, Jimmy Perkins is, I believe, he has a brother. I've heard him mention that he has a brother, but in some other news, he said that he's the only child. And there's a video that he also posted online of how distraught his mother was while watching them, I would say this was Nikki Thot, his wife, insulting him and hitting him and trying to hit the phone away from his hands while he was trying to record her, because she had come into the house at some point and he had asked her to leave. She had her baby in her arms. I think it was a 3-year-old girl she had in her arms at that point, and she didn't want to be video recorded, and he was recording how he was trying to get her to leave his premises because he had filed for a restraining order against her, and she had shown up at the house for one reason or the other, and he was trying to get her to leave. But he had recorded her while she was in his house, I believe for his own safety, because he didn't want to lay his hand. He said he has never laid his hands on her, but he was trying to protect himself from being accused of assaulting her eventually by recording her and how he was trying to get her to leave. But she had gotten so furious and tried to knock the phone out of his hands, which was also recorded. I'm going to post that video also after I speak about it. Like I mentioned many times, my videos that are about talking about the downtrodden, I believe, in my own opinion, that Jimmy Perkins is a downtrodden star. He's a young man who has now decided to make ends meet by Uber driving to provide for his children, and also doing some more social media vlogging for his income. And I would urge you, those of you that know him, even if you don't know him, to follow him and also to support him in any way possible, because he has been very open about and outright to tell us that he does need the support of the public in raising funds by supporting and subscribing to his YouTube channel, because I guess he's monetizing it and he would like to be able to provide for his family. And I consider that to be noble. I mean, he's coming out to say that he does need that assistance, because according to him, Nikki Thot has in the past tried to destroy what he has built in social media by not, she has gone out of her way, in other words, to try to destroy his reputation by spreading malicious lies. Remember, spreading malicious lies and trying to destroy somebody's image is one of the tactics of the narcissist. How they go about saying untruths about people so that people will stop supporting them. I've mentioned that in my previous videos, and I believe that is one of the main traits of a narcissist. And he says she did that. She also has tried to stop him from seeing the children many times. As a matter of fact, according to him in his video, she has gone out of her way to make it difficult for him to see the children, especially on his birthday, where he was supposed to meet the children for a few hours, because that has been their routine. Whoever has a birthday would have the children for a few hours just to celebrate with the children. And she sent him a message just a day or two before saying she had booked them for a dental appointment on his birthday, knowing full well that it was his turn to have the children on his birthday. And he had mentioned this and also stated that he had called the dentist and also confirmed that she just booked that appointment to spite him, because that appointment was not booked up until recently when she realized that his birthday was around the corner, just to spite him. That is another tactic of the narcissist. As a matter of fact, they try their best to do anything just to offend the other partner, to make sure that they don't get what is rightfully theirs, just so they can feel like they still have control over the joy and the peace and the happiness of their partner. This is a very toxic trait. And Jamie appears to be a very soft-spoken and quiet person who says he had gotten to his wits' end after trying many years. And he did mention that he loved her and he did want the marriage to be saved for many years. But then recently he had discovered that she had been having an ongoing affair with her ex-boyfriend, who he was aware of was in her life, but didn't realize that he was actively still pursuing his wife. For many years, he said he turned a blind eye, thinking that it was nothing to be worried about, and just thought the guy was just wasting his time, only for him to discover that indeed his wife, Nikki Thot, was involved in an affair with this ex-boyfriend. He said he had proof, and that was what eventually just broke the camel's back. And that since he had been fighting for the marriage for many years, as many narcissistic victims do, they try for many years to protect and to preserve their relationships. They are able to withstand so much backlash and so much ill treatment for many years just to sustain their relationships. And the narcissist usually just takes advantage of that fact, thinking that their partner will continue to forever want that relationship. They can't imagine in their very, very limited thinking that their partner will get tired of that bad behavior. And they take advantage of the situation, believing that their partner will never leave, only for them to be shocked when their partner does decide to throw in the towel, like Jamie Perkins apparently has done now. He said when he found out that this was indeed an amorous affair that was going on between his wife, Nikki Thot, and her ex-boyfriend, he just gave up completely. And that infuriated his wife, Nikki Thot, to see him walk away. And obviously, pain expresses itself in many ways, most times in furious backlash, anger, attacks, verbally and physically, which is what we're seeing that Nikki Thot has done apparently online. From the videos that Jamie Perkins has posted, it shows that she's been the attacker. She has been the antagonist. She has been the one that has been physically assaultive against him on many occasions, leading him to file a restraining order against her. And as a matter of fact, stating that at some point, being that he lives in the outskirts of Australia somewhere, he had put video cameras all around his house to protect his sanity and his physical self against her, because he says he now gets scared when he hears sounds in his house because he doesn't know if she's the one. And this is a psychological trauma that comes along with being with a toxic partner. When the person that's not toxic in relationship decides to throw in the towel and walk away, they have to worry about their safety many times, because that toxic partner has taken them for granted for many years, thinking that they'll never leave, and are very distraught, shocked, disappointed, worried, and very angry. And I would say anger is saying the least of it. They are very furious when they do realize that their partner has left them, even though it is their fault that their partner left them. They don't think about what led to their partner leaving. All they know at that point is that they are upset, and they try to punish their partner in any way possible, from making a living or from just walking away without any backlash from them. Now that Jamie Perkins has left, he's speaking out, which I applaud him for, because for many months now, like I mentioned, Nikki Thot has been the one speaking out against him publicly, accusing him of many things. And he says he's been quiet because he didn't want to come out, because he still loves her. He didn't want to come out and say the truth. But now that there's some video recordings of what she says, the way she sounds, someone that comes to the limelight acting very calm and quiet, and that, very peaceful looking young lady, hearing her voice and seeing her say these things is shocking. And that is another thing that the narcissist does. They pretend to be one thing when there's something completely different behind closed doors. I've said this many times. The narcissist is a different person in public than they are in private. So when they come out looking quiet and as calm as a mouse, and that they couldn't hurt a fly, don't believe that. Don't believe that, because truly, when they are in the privacy of their own homes, they are like worse. They attack their partners worse than a lion would attack a prey. Another thing he had mentioned was that he's felt bullied and manipulated by Nikki for many years. He doesn't even know where the children's school is. He said she controls everything in their life. She has controlled many aspects of their lives for many years, up to the point where she has not divulged where the children go to school to him. He's done most of the heavy lifting financially, he says. He's paid most of the bills, and he actually wanted them to work together as a couple, which is the rightful thing to do to make ends meet, because he says he's struggling financially and has struggled for many years financially, and that initially she was a model bringing in an income, but once they got married, she decided she didn't want to work, and most of the financial burden fell upon his shoulders at that point. He thought he could manage it, and he had managed to do so for many years financially on his own, providing for the family of 4, because they ended up having 2 beautiful daughters. And he said he wanted to make ends meet for their sake, because he does love his family very much, and it shows from the way he discusses about his family. And he said, but at some point he had to take on extra jobs, 2 or 3 jobs on the side, just to keep, afloat and make ends meet. And Nikki never tried to help out to see, like, this was causing him to have some, not just mental stress, physical stress, body aches. She would belittle him for it and make nothing of them, and not support him in that regard, to know that he was taking on more than he could chew, so to speak, because he said he had given up most of his hobbies just to take care of his family. He was willing to do over and above what the normal person would do to provide for the family, just to make her happy, but that still wasn't enough. There was no love or respect coming from her end. He also mentioned that she had socially isolated him, which is another major tactic and trait of a narcissist. They socially isolate their partners from other people, so that people out there that are friendly with the partner won't know the truth about what's going on with their partner. And that is one strategy that she had used. And after which she had thrown it back in his face, accusing him of not having anyone that loved him and not having any friends. And the video is out there where she said all these things to him. So I am going by that, not by just what he says, but the video itself saying, the audio where she had said all these things to him, which is so heartrending to hear, because that is a major tactic of the narcissist. They socially isolate you from your friends and loved ones, only to turn around and tell you have no friends. You don't have anyone on your side to fight for you. Nobody loves you, and that is why you're depressed, and that you're nothing and you'll never be nothing, and that you're just a piece of shit. And she said that 3 times. Let me tell you who you are, just in case you don't know who you are. She said that on the audio, which was so shocking to hear, that this quiet, timid person that seemed not to be able to hurt a fly was saying all of this to this man. Let me remind you of who you are. You're nothing but a shit, and you'll never be anything but an shit, a piece of shit. So, I mean, looking at Perkin's face while he made the video of why he left his wife, and just seeing how he just made the comment of how he had struggled for many years and how he wanted to make ends meet, and he was driving an Uber, and people would come into the Uber and see him and be surprised, because he was quite popular in the social media scene. Why are you driving an Uber if you're a star on social media? Like, he didn't want to open up about why he was doing this. He just says, well, he's taking a break from social media. That was his response to questions like that. But now he wants to come out and say the whole truth. He's trying to keep afloat and make ends meet. So I would indulge all of you out there who know him. Even if you don't know him, please go and watch his video and support this young man by subscribing to his channel, and by, in any way possible, just supporting him generally. I feel for him. My heart goes out to both of them, because I believe Nikki Thot is also going through a difficult time, having lost someone that she loves, because love expresses itself in a different way. The narcissist is incapable of truly loving like the normal person would. Their way of showing love is by making you feel like you are privileged just because they're in your life, and the fact that they're with you alone is enough to show that that's love. But that's not love. If a person is with you and all you get from them is accusations, abuse, attack, unappreciative gestures, and just constant barrage of insults, that is not love. It's actually better that they are not there with you or you are not there with them, because being there alone is not enough. But that is a narcissist's way of showing that they care, because they are with you. Just by the virtue of them being with you, they believe that that's enough. And Nikki Thot has been there watching while he works, and she actually is there with the children doing the other stuff like a motherly provision for the children while he goes out to make ends meet. But he said he would have preferred if she actually had kept her job and assisted financially. That would have taken the burden off his shoulder a little bit, which is, I mean, fair. I believe that's fair, that they both work together. Like, I mean, he had expected her to before they got married, because she did work before they got married and started having children. And the mother of Jimmy Perkins is very involved with the grandchildren. She actually moved from a very far distance to be close to her grandchildren. And Nikki Thot had threatened on one of the videos, the video where she was trying to knock the phone off Jimmy Perkins' hands, that they would never see the children again, because she believes that the mother is now supporting her son, which I'm not surprised to see, because obviously Nikki Thot appears to be the aggressor in this relationship. She's the one that's has physical outbursts and verbal assaults against him. So what do you expect a mother to do at that point? I wish them all the best, but here's a video of a young man. I believe he's a therapist of some sort. I don't recall his name, but I'm going to attach it to this video, where he's talking about the best way to address disrespect is by walking away. Talking about it and arguing about it does no good. Simply walking away and rewarding insults with your absence is the best strategy to a verbal assault or physical assaults by anyone. Nobody deserves to have your presence in their life if they abuse you in any way. The best way to react to abuse and disrespect is by walking away. Please watch and let me know what your thoughts are.
The point where I was going to contact her and just human to human ask her to take it down, but I noticed I couldn't see it anymore. So I don't know why. Perhaps she decided to have a heart and take it down. I don't know. But then there was a lot of other people who made similar videos as well, and that was hard to cope with, because the reason Nikki and I broke up was I discovered she had been unfaithful. She'd been going behind my back with her ex-boyfriend, and I'd been warned about him being an issue before I started dating Nikki again. And the first year of our marriage, I discovered that she had been secretly keeping in contact with him, and I didn't see her side of the messages. I saw the Facebook like back then Facebook used to email you a receipt of the message, and I had logged into my Hotmail, and her Hotmail was still logged in, and I saw all these messages from him, but she had deleted them on her Facebook, so I didn't know what her responses was. But this guy he'd been saying he was in love with her, and he had told her to leave me for him. And we'd always hear about him talking to people about how he was in love with her and how he was going to get her back. And I just thought this guy was a joke. I didn't think much of it. And in that first year of marriage, when I discovered that she had been secretly talking to this guy, it nearly broke us up. It took away a lot of the trust that I had for her, and we moved past it, and I feel like I blocked it out of my memory. It was like I just buried that, and we moved forward, and I never thought I would have to worry about this guy again. And I won't go into details, but I discovered some things I never thought I would discover to do with her and him. And I left. Our marriage had been struggling for a long time. For about 3 years or so, I had been desperately just trying to do everything that I could to fix our marriage, to make her happy, to give her what she wanted. Our marriage kind of went on her timeline. I was just always obsessively reading books on marriage, seeking out different marriage counselors, begging to go to counseling, and we went to 3 different counselors over 3 years in hopes that one of them could help. Things weren't great between us, but I loved her and I wanted things to work, and I wanted our girls to grow up in a 2-parent household. And I was willing to do anything that I could to make our marriage work. But unfaithfulness was my one thing that I couldn't look past. And when I found out, when it was all undeniable, I left. This time it was different, and I left, and I was gone for good. There was no begging her to be with me. There was no begging her to make it work. There was none of that anymore. It was just like, I'm done. Let's co-parent. Let's end this. And that made her furious. And when I first discovered all of this, I told my parents and I told one friend. She contacted pretty much every person that I was close to and told them a whole different story. I've seen some of the messages people in my life have gotten about what happened between us. The amount of effort she put into trying to get into the lives of people that meant something to me was just, I'd never experienced anything like that. And it was crazy because when we were together, we used to actually argue over the fact she didn't really put any effort into trying to be friends with the people that were important to me, or, you know, that she didn't really want my friends in our lives all that much. And then when we broke up, it was like, I have to make sure that I take whatever means anything to you from you. And I didn't really have the energy to defend myself from a lot of the stuff that went around. I mean, it got to the stage where my family overseas, like my relatives overseas, were getting long emails from her, starting off with, I just felt it in my heart that I had to reach out to you and tell you what I've really had to deal with. And it wasn't just lies about me, it was lies about my parents as well. My parents who loved her like their own blood. My parents loved her so much. They did so much for her over the years. Like, my mum would come and do so much of our housework. She just loved Nikki like the daughter she never had. My dad loved Nikki like the daughter that he never had. And when we broke up, Nikki tried to turn them against me as well. Not just telling them things that she claimed had happened to her, but telling them things that I had said about them to try and break that bond. And my parents still loved her, but they weren't going to turn on their son. And when they wouldn't turn on me, she turned on them. And their life has been incredibly hard. It wasn't just me who had to move to remain in the girls' lives. My mom's 80 years old. She left Geelong. Geelong's 2.5 hours away from where we live. She left Geelong, got her own place. She's starting her life from scratch down here. It's hard for her, but it's even harder for her not seeing her grandkids, who she's always been present in their lives since they were born. My dad's 75 years old, still works full-time as a builder in Geelong. He can't start over down here because he's not ready to retire yet, and he also can't afford to retire. So he works in Geelong 5 days a week. Then on a Friday night, he waits for the traffic to die down. He drives down here on a Friday night, gets to my mum's house at 10, 11 o'clock at night. And then he spends all of Saturday with my mum and sees his grandkids. And then Sunday night, he drives back to Geelong, and he does this all over again. And my parents are struggling as well. My dad's exhausted. He's always exhausted, but he never complains, and he'll never admit to how hard this all is on him. And it's hard on my mum being so far away from him too. Like, they're on the phone every single day to each other. They miss one another. They want to live together, but they can't. They can't at this point in time. My dad's paying a mortgage on the house that they have in Geelong. And when it gets to the point where they sell that house, there's a lot of work that will need to be done on that house, or demolished and rebuild something on there, because it is in a decent area of Geelong. And then they're paying a rental where we are now. And as their son, I should be helping them more. And I've tried to help over the years. When I've had more money, I have helped. But now I can't even afford, like, I'm not making enough money to afford to pay my rent given my current circumstances, unless, you know, like brand deals suddenly come through, which sometimes they do. So that's where we're at. Like, it's hard. And, you know, my dad lost his job of 18 years. He worked for Porter Davis. Porter Davis shut down. If you're in Australia, you'd know about how Porter Davis shut down. And luckily he was able to get a job with someone he had worked with, you know, like a guy who used to work with Porter Davis, moved to another company and was able to get him a job in Geelong. But down here, a 75-year-old man who knows no one in the industry down here, realistically, I don't think he would be able to get a job here. So he just keeps working in Geelong. We've all just been doing whatever we have to do to remain in the girls' lives. But it's at the point where I've realized I've given too much. I've given more than I can give, and I can't continue this way. I want to be able to give the girls the best lives that I can, but there's just constant restrictions. It's like I'm constantly having to give up more and more and more. And Nikki, she's just wanted my life to be as hard as possible. You know, over the years, I've had severe social anxiety because of what she did, with just obsessively telling lies about me and feeling like she's just going to demolish relationships. To the point where I just became a recluse for a long time. I had hardly any friends that I spoke to. I had a few people, but I didn't trust people anymore. I didn't want to trust people anymore. I became really recluse. Like when we went into lockdown, it wasn't so hard for me because it just felt like the life I was already living. And then I decided I wanted to try and be social again. I wanted to get to know people somehow, because I only knew one person down here. And I joined a dad's play group. And Zoe and I would go to it every Wednesday. By this point, the girls were with me every Wednesday and every Thursday. So every Wednesday, Zoe and we would go to this play group. On Thursdays, she would go to daycare. On Wednesdays, she was with me, you know, at home and at our play group in the morning. And she would get really excited about this, and I would really get excited about interacting with other adults, because for a long time I was pretty much just, you know, it was just, everything was about the kids. I lost sense of myself, and this group was just so important to me. And I love seeing Zoe play with other kids as well. If you watch the vlogs, you would remember it as the community garden that we used to go and plant vegetables at and take care of them every week. And Nikki knew about this because Zoe was always excited to go when she would drop her off. And I would always be like, we got dad group today, it's gonna be fun. And Nikki went to the daycare place, and she changed Zoe's day. She changed Zoe's daycare day to Wednesday from Thursday, so that I could no longer go to this group. You know, Zoe was with me on every Wednesday, and I remember calling the daycare, and they knew that I had equal parenting rights, and they gave me a hard time about changing the days back. Eventually I was able to, but I tried explaining to Nikki. I was like, look, you know, I don't have friends. You know, you made it very hard for me. You gave me severe social anxiety to the point where I don't interact with many people, because I didn't want to have to try and defend myself to people. I didn't have the energy for it. So I just stopped interacting with most people. I had, you know, one friend down here, and I was desperately trying to make some friends, to learn how to really interact with people again. I've been in therapy for a long time. I started therapy a year before I left Nikki. And my therapist was really pushing me to, you need to start trying to interact with people more regularly again. And I tried explaining to her. She didn't care. It was just the control thing. It's like I felt like she's wanted to isolate me from people over the years. And she's been trying to destroy my career. There's just been a lot of control. I could talk for hours and hours and hours about it. And she was upset about the fact that I would get to take them to Disneyland before her, and how it's every parent's dream to do that. It wasn't like it was something that I'd planned. I'd been gifted it. She was also furious that I hadn't invited her, which we don't talk. We talk about things that are really important about the kids, and that's kind of it. So obviously I wasn't going to bring a person who abuses me on a trip like that. Like, that made no sense. And then eventually she used the excuse of don't want them missing a few days of school. And I was so heartbroken for the kids that I said, you can have the trip, take the trip. Like, I don't want the kids to miss out. The whole deal was apparently that she was upset that I was going to get to take them first. So I gave it to her and she didn't want it. She just didn't want me to have it. There's been so many other, I'm just talking about the stuff recently. Like, it was my 40th birthday this year. And she's always giving me a hard time about turning 40. It's something she's always, made me feel self-conscious about, that I'm old. And, she'd given me a hard time about that at a pickup, not even long before that. And I knew something was going to happen on my 40th where she would try and make it hard. And so I had reminded her that, it was coming up. I knew she would have known because the girls would have been talking about it because they were excited they'd made some stuff for me. But I reminded her just to keep my bases covered because it landed on a week that was her week with the kids. And, our agreement is if it's our birthday, one of our birthday, and the kids are at the other house, we pick them up from 3:30 and we have them until 6. And I reminded her. She got back to me the day before my birthday. I had a message from a dentist that I'd been to before. About 20 minutes before, I got a message from her saying that a dental appointment had been made for me. And I thought that was strange, and I called them up and told them that it was a mistake, that I didn't book a dentist appointment for my birthday. And they said, oh, we're sorry, something must have happened. There's a girl with the same last name as yours who has a dental appointment that day. And I thought nothing of it. And then 20 minutes after that, I get a text from Nikki letting me know that both the girls have dentist appointments on my birthday, and that I can take them there on my birthday. I didn't even let her know that I knew she had literally just booked it before sending that message, because the notification had came through, and I don't think she would have thought that I would have got that notification, because it was just like, what's the point in even bringing this stuff up? Because it's just, this is kind of how it is. Yeah, this is the sort of stuff I deal with. I've dealt with violence as well.
Please leave the house. This is violence. You've got the kids in your hands. Leave the house right now.
This is exactly what he wanted.
Leave the house right now.
This is exactly what he wanted.
Leave the house.
The reason Nikki and I broke up was I discovered she had been unfaithful. She'd been going behind my back with her ex-boyfriend, and I'd been warned about him being an issue before I started dating Nikki again. And the first year of our marriage, I discovered that she had been secretly keeping in contact with him. had come to the house and been violent, punched me multiple times, kicked me, just been horrible. And this was in front of kids, in front of my mum, and things like this had happened throughout our marriage as well. Nikki, she was like two different people, and that was what I always struggled with.
Distance is the only answer to disrespect. Don't react, don't argue, don't dive into drama. Simply remove your presence. Let me explain. When you step away from disrespectful situations or individuals, you protect your emotional well-being. It allows you to maintain your inner calm and avoid being drawn into unnecessary conflict. Distance communicates that you have boundaries and expect to be treated with respect. It sends a clear message that disrespectful behavior is not acceptable. Reacting to disrespect can often escalate a situation, leading to further conflict. By choosing distance, you prevent the situation from getting worse. Sometimes creating distance gives the other party an opportunity to reflect on their behavior. They may come to understand the consequences of their actions and make amends. Remember, removing yourself from a disrespectful situation is a powerful act of self-care and self-respect. It doesn't mean you are weak. It signifies your strength in prioritizing your well-being and maintaining your dignity.
I feel really bad within myself to know that this beautiful relationship that started off like a fairy tale has come to an abrupt end, and not just an end, but a very toxic one at that. And I wish Jamie Perkins and Nikki Thot all the best in the future. I believe that there's room for therapy. I believe that there's room for reconciling, not to live together as a couple, but to come together for the sake of the beautiful daughters they have, to be able to live a life where they can both relate in a cordial and respectful manner for the sake of the children, if not for the sake of the both of them and their mental health. Jamie Perkins says he's going through post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, as a result of being in such an abusive relationship for many years and holding back and not speaking out about all the negativity that he has experienced in the hands of Nikki Thot. I wish them all the best in future. I believe it's possible to get some healing now that they're both living in separate homes. And healing from such a toxic relationship might take months or years, but it's possible to come out of it healthier, happier, and more fulfilled if they take the right steps in getting some therapy or getting loved ones and the support of those who care about them to assist them to get out of this mindset where they are down or depressed about it, especially in the case of Jamie Perkins, who has been open about his depression while being in this marriage. I wish them all the best of luck. Thank you for tuning in to Cannibal Diva Chronicles. As I sign out, please remember to show love to your fellow man, because all we need is love. Thank you and have a blessed day.
Sounds right.